So engagement with the awards has grown year on year, and it's so wonderful to see the passion our banding community has when it comes to celebrating the achievements of so many people. I'm pleased to say that many of the shortlisted nominees are here today. Obviously not everyone shortlisted can be a winner, but we felt it was important to share a wider shortlist in order to recognise your dedication and contribution to brass banding. Some of these awards are sponsored very generously by organisations who made this initiative and this conference day possible. They'll be presenting their relevant category and then have a quick photo with each award winner. Unfortunately, we don't have space now to hear from each award winner, and we don't want to put anyone on the spot, but do speak to them and congratulate them in the coffee break afterwards. Congratulate the nominees who didn't win too. With all that said, let's kick off the show with an award which is new for this year. The Green Hero Award was created to acknowledge those who have made climate awareness a priority in their banding practices. Our shortlisted nominees have shown their commitment through partnerships leading trusts and composers and created forward-thinking initiatives for their band. The nominees are National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain for Fragile Earth and Chris Leonard of Derwent Brass. And the winner is the National Brass Band of Great Britain. Fabulous. It's a fantastic initiative. If you haven't seen Fragile Earth, have a look at the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain website. So our second award is the Brass Band Conductor Award. And for this, I'm going to hand over to John Fricker of the Brass Band Conductors Association.
Well, the Brass Band Conductor Award is for those who have made significant positive contributions to their bands, which each nominee has done in droves. The nominees are Malcolm Lewis, Sarah Woodward, Alan DeGuid, Jack Capstaff, Lewis Kemp, and Louis Charles Thomas. And the winner is Sarah Woodward. In true banding style, Sarah is unable to be here today as her band, Kirby Moorside, have their solo competitions. However, we were able to arrange for Alan Fernie to present her with a temporary certificate so she wouldn't be celebrating empty-handed. This occurred this morning and was recorded for us.
It is my absolute honour indeed to announce that the winner of the 2024 Brass Band England Conductor Award goes to Sarah Woodward.
I'm sure in Sarah's absence, we'd all like to congratulate her anyway. Thank you very much.
Our third award is Outstanding Contribution. Nominees in this category have shown endless commitment to their bands, and it's a category that every year we're overwhelmed with people wanting to submit people that they know have given their all to their band over the years. So the nominees are Neil Webb, Reg Bearden, Philip Goodwin, Jackie Walker, Colin Gibbs, and Kathleen Harrison. And the winner is Kathleen Harrison. Unfortunately, Kathleen can't be with us today, but we're going to be making arrangements to get her award over to her as soon as possible. Our next award is Young Bandsperson, and this is going to be presented by Sam Wynne of ABRSM.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Young Bandsperson Award exists to celebrate the achievements of the next generation and banders. This year's nominees have all shown great dedication to their bands, and they are Jasmine Cosgrove, Franklin Onyeso, Charlotte Konacha, and Matthew Bray. And the winner is Jasmine Cosgrove.
It's only fitting that following on from the Young Bandsperson Award would be the Services to Youth Award, the recipient of which not only gets to take home one of our custom-made plaques, but also the Brian W. Hicks Memorial Shield. So the nominees are Anna Mania, Peter Desmond, John Don Duncan, Ken and Roger Powell, and Jock Mackenzie. And the winner is Jock Mackenzie. So, the penultimate award today is Band Project of the Year, which is supported by Rooms for Groups. Can I ask Lydia to come forward to present this award, please?
The Band Project of the Year award is special in that the winner is voted for by the banding community. With over 1,000 votes made, it truly reflects the passion and support banders have for one another. The nominees are Shepherd Group Brass Band with I Can Play with Brass Roots, West Somerset Brass Band with Crash Bang Donkey, Elland Silver with the Elland Silver Outreach Service, City of Birmingham Brass Band with Light the Lakes, Towchester Studio Band with Habit, Having a Blast in Towchester, and the winner is Shepherd Group Brass Band.
So we've reached our final award of the day. Thank you again to all of the nominees who have made the time to come here today. It's an amazing thing, the awards, seeing them grow year on year, and every time we see wonderful stories of people being recognised. For this final award, which is Lifetime Achievement, I'd like to hand over to BBE trustee Nigel Stevens.
Good afternoon, conference. I say that quite deliberately, and before I get onto the duties I'm here for, I think it's right to say that I've had a fantastic day at the conference, and I hope you've all been engaged and excited as I've been, and I've got a huge amount of challenge and joy out of it. So please go back to your various bands and communities and tell them about the Brass Bands England Conference, and hopefully the use of my word Good Afternoon Conference, which is used at big political conferences and trade unions where there's thousands of people present, I'll be able to say Good Afternoon Conference to somewhere in Blackpool with 2,000 or 3,000 people in front of me. What a great accolade that would be for us if we could make that happen. Sarah said, my name's Nigel Stevens. I'm a trustee of BBE, which I get a huge amount of joy and challenge out of. I'm lucky enough to be, I suppose you'd call it, the custodian of Brass in Concert, as I and the trustees try to take that amazing festival on the next leg of its journey. And finally, I'm your delegate as the English delegate to the European Brass Band Association and currently its finance director. Now to the duties I have in hand. Firstly, I should say that how pleased and honoured I am to be asked to present this Lifetime Achievement Award, particularly as it's to a man who has inspired, challenged and encouraged me personally, and indeed countless others, some in this room, but many, many throughout our brass band and indeed the larger music industry for many, many years. His contribution to banding is so enormous that it is impossible to quantify, and his broader body of work as a player, conductor, writer and broadcaster, and his unwavering dedication to his art represents someone who is genuinely one of the few maestros of our genre. Born in 1939, our award winner was brought up in a village called Idle, a suburb of Bradford in West Yorkshire. I think there's a famous working men's club there called the Idle Working Men's Club, which my wife has said I could possibly join. He began to study the piano at age 7, and his first trumpet lesson on his 10th birthday provided his great uncle, who he wasn't even aware of, called Howard Webster, the opportunity. That turned out to be a man and a music lesson that would indeed change his life. Like everything that was to follow, he became fully committed to his playing, and 2 years later, aged 12, and after what I'm sure was a lot of home practice, he was performing the Haydn Trumpet Concerto at the famous Manchester Wigmore Hall. One critic of his performance that day observed that he had great sound, but was still at the visibly counting stage of his development. At just 14, he joined the cornet section of the famous Black Dyke Mills Band, surrounded by somewhat older and more mature players, many years his senior. And for our brass historians, to give you a sense of that era, Black Dyke at that time was led by Willie Lang and a little later by Maurice Murphy. At 16, while still at Black Dyke, he then became a member of the National Youth Orchestra of Great Britain, which further developed a passion for orchestral music that has stayed with him throughout his entire career. This was quickly followed by a scholarship to study at the Royal Manchester College of Music, which we now know as the RNCM, where our award winner unfortunately had to admit that he wasn't a great trumpet student, although he had fortunately moved on from the visibly counting stage. However, undiscouraged, his studies led him down a different path to conducting, and having managed to get some time working and getting advice from none other than Sir John Barbaroli, the then conductor of the Halle Orchestra and visiting professor at his college, he determined that this was where the future would lie for him. By now, it had reached the time when our aspiring maestro, now aged 20, had to earn a living. So in 1959, he joined the army as a cornet and trumpet player in the band of the Royal Horse Guards. He completed his basic training in an 11-month stint, during which he had to leave his trumpet in his case. As the name would imply, his new vocation would require a somewhat different skill, and soon he found he was a natural horseman, equestrian even, one of only a handful of his fellow enlisters to complete the full equine course. His reward was to be matched with one of his first true loves. I hope you'll forgive that. I can see his wife in the audience. A gem of a horse called Agnes. Unfortunately, my research has not been able to confirm or deny whether Angus felt the same love and affection in return. After 7 years with the Royal Horse Guards in April 1967, he began studies at the Royal Military School of Music at Kneller Hall, from where he graduated as a bandmaster in 1969 and was appointed to be conductor of the band of the Gordon Highlanders. For the next 7 years, he worked with the band in Germany, Switzerland, France, Scotland, Cyprus, Singapore, Japan and Australia, before returning to the UK in 1976. That first appointment would see the start of a 33-year career that would see him rise through the ranks as a conductor before his final appointment as Principal Director of Music for the Army and Director of the Royal Military School of Music at Kneller Hall in the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, the youngest person ever to hold that dual role. Throughout his military and broadcasting career, he has conducted many brass bands, but perhaps most famously, the Grimethorpe Colliery Band, from 1988 to 1993, one of their most successful periods in their history. Under his baton, in 1990, Grimethorpe were the BBC Band of the Year, and in 1991 won the British Open on Paganini variations. A year later, playing New Jerusalem by Philip Wilby, they won the National Championships of Great Britain at the Royal Albert Hall. This was, of course, at the same time as the coal industry in Great Britain was being closed down, and the Grimethorpe Colliery along with it, and the story became the basis of Brassed Off. Alongside his military career, he had notable other successes, and in 1988 he was appointed principal conductor of the British Concert Orchestra after critically acclaimed recordings with the American operatic soprano Carol Van Ness. He also began to broadcast regularly on BBC Radio, writing and presenting his own musical programmes. This was also a period where he spent time associated and conductor of the James Shepherd Versatile Brass. In the summer of 1992, he resigned his positions at Kneller Hall to concentrate on his freelance career as a conductor, writer and broadcaster, and in no time he was asked to be the regular presenter of Listen to the Band on BBC Radio 2, which he did for 23 years. In his own words, not quite as long as Creme Bruce, but nearly. If his radio work was to bring him the universal recognition as the voice of brass, in 1994, he was to be given an opportunity to become the face of brass as he took up the reins to present Brass in Concert for the first time. He had appeared at the competition many times as a conductor, always working with the legendary John Dunn as presenter. So it was with some trepidation that he took over this position. However, it's with a marked personal thank you from me as the current CEO of Brass in Concert that I can publicly testify that it is in no small part due to his unique personality and skills that Brass in Concert has become an even greater and perhaps even the greatest festival of the brass band world today. A few tickets are available yet for November, but you'll have to hurry. Quick plug there. In terms of accolades, in 1986, he was made a Freeman of the City of London and a member of the Worship Hall Company of Musicians. In 2011, he was presented with the Isles Medal for Services to Brass Band Community. And in 2016, was awarded a Doctorate of Letters by the University of West London in recognition of his long career in professional music and his work as independent chair of the Examination Review Board of the university. And somehow, amongst all this, he also had the time at some point during his career to become a great swinger and got his golf handicap down to 10. Thought I'd better clarify that. In summary, and to conclude, it's quite a remarkable set of achievements, and recognising this today is both fully deserved and comes with the grateful and heartfelt thanks of all the staff, trustees and wider membership of Brass Bands England, and indeed the whole of the brass band community. And with that, I'm happy to present the 2024 Brass Bands England Lifetime Achievement Award to Frank Renton.
Nigel asked me if I'd care to say a few words. Anybody who's known me for a long time may understand that he might come to regret that. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Brass Band England. I'm very grateful, feel very privileged and very humbled by the award. My life has really been encapsulated by the brass band. I started playing as a young cornet player. I played in my first brass band, Black Dyke Junior Band, as a young 12-year-old, where our conductor had been principal soprano cornet of the old Black Dyke Band, and his one authoritative indication to us was that everything had to be rate scintillating. Only he didn't say scintillating, he couldn't pronounce it like that. I grew up to believe that scintillating was always pronounced scintillating, because that's how Hubert did it, but hey, we knew what he meant. I see in the audience all sorts of people. Phil Goodwin, fantastic tuba player. He and I have been friends for more years than I care to remember. A man who's given so much to music generally, to young people in his teaching, but to the brass world generally, to Ian Porthouse, whose work with Tredegar and work with Gavin has been absolutely groundbreaking in recent years, and so many other people. But I mentioned that because something that, when Edward Gregson was talking, another great old friend, his birthday is the day before mine, but he's 5 years younger than me. The work that Gary Howarth did with Grimethorpe, all these things don't happen by accident, they happen because of people. It was John Henry Iles 100 years ago who decided that he wasn't going to go with what had gone before, he was going to be groundbreaking. He was going to invite people who'd never written for the brass band, Gustav Hall, Selgar, Bax, Bliss, you name them, all the great names of the mainstream classical world. He invited them to write for the brass band with no caveat, write what you want. So that was groundbreaking. What Gary Howarth did was groundbreaking. Grimethorpe and Ken Hurst took a great punt on this guy that was a trumpet player with the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, and the Sinfonietta. And they took a great punt on asking him to conduct the band. What they brought was this tremendous outside influence that had started in the brass band, had gone out into the greater professional world, and he brought all his friends in, the Burt Whistle, the Henser, all the things that we know of the great core music of that time was because of one man. And it's going to happen with Gavin, because Gavin started with the brass band, went out and made his name as a composer out in the great wider world, and has come back. And that's what is going to be the key to the future of the brass band, I'm convinced, is that it should not look inwards, it should look outwards the whole time and bring in influences from the greater world that perhaps understand what we do and how we do things, but they're the people who are going to carry it forward. Look outside, look for different, be brave, dare to do things that you've never done before and that nobody else has ever done before, and enjoy every minute of it. Thank you very much.